गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गाना शॉट। गाना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। Today we're going to talk of something very, very important for India, and that is business of Politico, bureaucratic military fusion for India. And to talk about this, I have with me my friends from IIT and my compatriots from a long time, General Rajiv Narayanan and General Hari Mohan. Right. Uh, Before we start this program, look, let me put it. All three of us have had a long talk about all this. We know what we're going to speak and everything. But let me put the setting up to you. Why I have put political, military, bureaucratic fusion. You see, in most countries, the responsibility of the defense of a nation lies with the political system. Whoever it is, the prime minister or the president, depending on the form of the system. They are mandated to defend the country. And the second set of people who are mandated to defend the country are the armed forces. The transaction to defend the country is a direct one between the political bosses and the military authorities. Even in our case, that's the mandate, right? The prime minister is and the defense minister are the ones who are responsible for the defense of this country. And the chief of army staff, CDS, and the chiefs, when I say chief of army staff, other chiefs are given the mandate to defend the country and discharged with the responsibility of defending the country. But actually, the bureaucracy in our country is a huge conduit. Some call it a conduit, some call it a speed breaker. It depends on the way you look at it. Many times they are a good conduit, many times they are a huge speed breaker. And many times they are a diverter also. Right. But be that as it may, this strange pipeline exists. And this exists only in India. There's no other equivalent anywhere else in the world. Right? That between the political system and the military system, there's a bureaucratic, you know, pipeline. Right. That is to a large extent contributed to the way we have prepared ourselves for war. Good, bad, or ugly. That's what we have to live with. Okay, that's one part of the story. The second part of the story is this. We are living in a tough neighborhood with two nuclear neighbors and an Indian Ocean, which is, full of action. We are a growing economy. We have ambitions of rising to be a, great power. And for that, you need to build. You need to build a strong army. If you are build a strong army, right, you need more money. You need more systems. You need more everything. Now, it means a lot of action. And that action of procurement, planning, deployment, operationalization, and then, the whole lot of things, you definitely need a greater amount of political, military, bureaucratic fusion. Otherwise, things don't go, especially in the field of, planning, in the field of procurement, and for financing and, the economy part of it. There's no doubt. The second thing is the army always needs to prepare. And for preparation, you need ranges, you need facilities, you need trains, you need so many other things. People have to fire, people have to train, people have to go all over, people have to go abroad, people have to do a lot of things. Otherwise, things don't move. You go for conferences, you have to have policies, everything together. Again, you need a high degree of political military bureaucracy. Then you need infrastructure. The army needs infrastructure, India needs infrastructure. And the best thing is to have infrastructure which rides both or serves both the security needs and the national developmental goals. Again, the political military bureaucratic fusion comes in. Then we are living in an age of exploding technologies. A whole lot of technologies are coming in, dual use technologies. And these dual use technologies can't be purposed to the civil or the military or repurposed from one to the other without this conduit, having a two-way affair. So these three, four issues mandate that our political, military, bureaucratic setup has to be very strong. The reality is just the opposite. Now, it's just not a matter of there has to be strength at the central level. That strength has to permeate down to states in terms of infrastructure building, in terms of local help. A lot of things the states have a responsibility, right? Again, that's something where we need to do more because that's not mandated anywhere. And for everything the army, for example, if it is deployed in a place like Kerala and something it needs locally, the normal chain is to go to Delhi and then come to Trivandrum. That's no chain. You need to have local arrangements to ensure that this chain is short circuited. People say, oh, it gets short circuited. It doesn't happen. Then there are a whole lot of disasters which happen where you have to work together. It's just not war. In fact, if you look at it, more people die in disasters than in war or a larger horizon. So all these are issues, live issues, and we need to discuss them. And to discuss them, I have General Narayanan and General Hari Mohan. So first, I'll yield the floor to General Narayanan. Let him have a say, and then we'll get back to General Hari Mohan. And depending on what they articulate and things like that, we'll take it up further. Rajiv, all yours.
Yes, I'll just add what to what you said, that this is the a deeper analysis than what we had done on 21st, where we had broadly touched on all these issues, and now we are taking it topic by topic to explain it further. Uh, I entirely subscribe to what you said, sir. And to add, why the urgency now? You all know that you are rising. As any nation rises, comes the challenges, both internal and external. Why do the challenges come? You are rising and going to take somebody else's place. Why will he or they allow you to take that place? Because that place gives them certain privileges. So obviously, they will do anything and everything to keep you down. So to be able to counter these threats, which today in most of our talks we have spoken about it, that the threats are multi-domain. Unless you have decision makers who are specialists and who understand this across all levels, you will find it a problem. You cannot have generalists sitting there to say that he can do it. Some people say no, quote examples of one or two. I'll only make one statement. When we won the World Cup in '83 and Viv Richards was asked, so that is the statement apt. One swallow does not a summer make. So if an odd person is competent, yes, you do get such people, but that's oddball, not everybody. Now, what people have to remember that it is not just the strong economy, it is backed by a strong military which will give diplomacy the heft. Minus of this, you are talking in thin air. Just look at the kind of heft that you have suddenly got post op Sindhu. Yes, there was a certain degree of heft you were showing diplomatic heft because of the economy, but post op Sindhu, all attention is on you because you showed the military might. Then, when we talk of political, bureaucratic, military integration, people generally raise the bogey of a possible coup if military is in the decision making loop. And I would say, like fools, compare you with Johnny come lately countries like Pakistan or Bangladesh. I compare myself with, let us say, UK, USA, West. Where have they had military coups? The military is very much part of the decision making, not bereft of it, not an attached office like we have in MOD today. And this was not the case till just a couple of years after independence. There used to be a commander in chief who was responsible for the defense. Somewhere down the line, when you look at your AOB TOB rules, the armed forces have been deleted from the tasking of defense of the country. It's left to the MOD, and when you give it MOD, you know that it is the bureaucrat. And who holds the Union War Book? Who signs the Union War Book? It's not the CDS, it's not the military, not even the IDS headquarters. So it is very important today to break down these barriers and include talent and expertise. So at the moment, I'll stop here and hand you back, sir, to General Shankar. He
Yeah,
will take it forward step by step so that General Hari can have his.
yeah, right. Uh, General Hari Mohan, your views, all yours.
So, good evening and thanks for having me on the show. Um, the basic point comes up, are we taking a unilateral decision or are we making decisions as a team? Many a times, one has gone and seen that the larger decisions are pushed by the government down the line, and many a times the armed forces, I'll rather say the military, just carries out or executes whatever is told to do so. It is never part of active decision making, and that has been possibly something the Indian system has always shown. I mentioned it last time, I again mentioned it. General Rajiv just mentioned it just now. Everybody is worried about that taking over by the army, and one has done IS duties many a times, and all of us must have experienced it. The most difficult part of the IS duty is for the magistrate to hand over the situation to the army. He will hesitate to do so till as late as possible and will try and take it back as early as possible, assuming that he will lose control of the system. That kind of mistrust of your own, you know, nationals is something which is not understandable, especially in a nation where the army is proud to call itself an apolitical entity. We have stood by the nation in every decision, good or bad. We have executed tasks, whether it was in our liking or otherwise, and we have never, as an armed force, ever stood against any decision of the government. But 75 years down the line, why are we talking about politico bureaucratic fusion with the military is something which baffles me. We believe in going, it's something like you driving on an expressway and then you put a series of speed breakers in between and expect to use the expressway like an expressway. It doesn't work that way. Today, a person who comes through the defense services is as capable, if not more, than anybody who comes through the bureaucracy. And more often that we have seen, many in the bureaucracy are, I won't use the word clueless, but have very limited knowledge about what the military is all about. And one of the glaring example, and I will use it because it happened just yesterday, when one of our political leaders made some stupid remark on the parliamentary debate as to why our aircrafts did not go close enough to the targets. That shows how much knowledge or information our politico and bureaucracy has as far as military matters are concerned. And if we want to be, like General Shankar mentioned, if we want to be a nation worth calling itself, if not a world power, at least a regional power. We need to invest into it. We need to work as a united team and have faith that everybody in the team has equal capability as far as the overall goal achievement is concerned. And that is why it is very essential that all along, I won't even say at the top, I will say from top to bottom, there has to be a seamless fusion of all elements of national power. Then and then only will the nation be able to show itself as a power worth talking about. And I'm very thankful to General Shankar that we have come back onto this subject. Like I said, it's a very vast subject, and we are touching the most critical part of that subject, which is fusion at the government levels, where we all who carry the Ashoka as part of our national pride should speak the same language without any conduits in between. It should be like one single pipeline from which everything flows. I'll be, contributing my views as we go along in the debate, sir. But I'll start with this much. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Let's look at it a little more deeply. We touched upon this business of this, the government fears that there'll be a coup by the army after 70 years of independence, 75 years of independence. There's not enough trust in the system. Uh, there is also a very glaring case that the politician has got no clue about the armed forces and issues pertaining to geopolitical systems. So these two are live fears. One, the political entity doesn't understand geopolitics or the army or how power is to be exercised. That's one part of the story. The second is he's worried that tomorrow there'll be a coup. So these are statements I've made. Uh, Rajiv, I'd like your views on this. Since yeah,
So,
is this thinking of mine right? If it is right, is there a way how to get out of it? Because both of them are unfounded in its own way. Yeah.
so that is the. I always feel it is the fear of the unknown because the politician has always had a disconnect with the Indian military. Secondly, while we copied the Whitehall system of governance, there is one good thing that the British political system has, for whatever its follies are there. Moment a party comes into the opposition, they follow a system known as shadow governance. And you have shadow ministers within the party who are experts and who have their expert advice and you train it. And you don't find such idiotic statements, pardon my language, being made on the floor of the house there. Because there is a shadow governance, he has his expert set of teams. He may not be the expert, but he has an expert set of teams who guide him, tell him what is going on, what is not going on. So you will find that the level of debate becomes very high when you debate such a thing. Here, there is nothing called a shadow governance. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry comes here and he thinks he can talk whatever he wants. Like one of the MPs was making a statement, why did that operation take place on a day X? Oh, hello, if you have an intimation, will I not go and attack him and wait for the parliament to end before I do it? And these are the kind of silly questions which are being asked, which makes it laughable. So, uh, but this percolates right down through. Because when you look at the post of the defense secretary, I'll put my neck on the chopping block here. His only requirement, what I sat on 3 years at that chair and discussed with the people who matter as the ADGMO, the only requirement is 2 years being the uh, Secretary of Defense Production. As if that will teach him matters of military. 2 years he sits on the chair to look after the DPSU. And by the way, the Department of Defense Production is used to be totally run by the DPSUs. Their entire staff used to be there. So they would protect their turf. And just because he has been there for 2 years, he is brought in as the defense secretary and he's as clueless as anything. He knows nothing. And I have no grounds against him. Throughout his service, he has not been trained on these matters. So just 2 years of exposure there, then tell him, you will hold the Union War Book. You are supposed to be. I've attended meetings with the principal secretary of the PMO in the basement, high level meeting, and him taking off the defense secretary that you are supposed to be taking decisions. And he's looking lost. What decision will he take when he doesn't understand what is he supposed to do? And the principal secretary is going red in face. How do any the period of generalists is over? And I personally feel now you got to start bringing in specialists at every level. How they manage it, how they do it, what changes they should do to the UPSC. Simple change. You make him do all the courses. If he has to come as the defense secretary, he should have done NDC minimum. NDC नहीं किया तो क्या समझ आएगा सर उसको? Higher command, NDC, any of the higher commands and NDC should be a must for him to come to any chair. Here, if you're going to keep somebody at the director and JS level, make higher command compulsory of any services. Do the higher command and then come there. Then at least having been through 1 year, I won't say he'll be knowledgeable, at least he has some knowledge. And he will know whom to tap within the services to get more input and to take a decision. This is not happening. We do get people coming to do staff college, higher command, NDC, but they go everywhere else but the place where he should come. Similarly, I feel that time has come to change the AOB TOB rules. The CDS actually should be renamed back as it used to be in the days of war just after independence as Commander-in-Chief. And the theatre commands, we are going in for theaterization. The theatre and functional commands, he should have the operational control. And he should be responsible for the defense of the country. As far as the defense secretary is concerned and the service chiefs are concerned, my personal view is that they should be only responsible for the administrative part. Like recruitment is there, training is there, what kind of, if they are looking at changing the structures, change it in dialogue with the commander-in-chief and the theatre commanders. After all, these change structures have to be applied by them. So with them, and then look after discipline, pay allowances, budget, procurement. That is their baby. So that when moment you change to your theatre commands and other things with the CNC, then there is a focused approach. And whenever there is a cabinet committee on security, not the defense secretary, the commander-in-chief should be the member. If there is some issue like we have service chiefs or defense secretary can be called. And DAC, let it be with the defense secretary and the service chiefs. Don't involve the CDS like the commander-in-chief. You created two more. There is the office of the CDS. He is also the chairman chiefs of staff committee, which is separate. And you created DMA. How many more filters are you going to do? Merge all this. I think we have plenty of studies that have taken place. We just do lip service to that. We just need to brush it out, adapt it to today's condition, and merge everything. Look at the amount of revenue saving that the government is going to do when you merge these posts. That these can be with the military, these can be with the civil, these with the armed forces service, and these with the people from IAS and INAS who are coming. There will be tremendous amount of service because the MOD replicates all three services, and I'm sure today they replicate the DMA also, knowing the way the bureaucracy all over the world functions. And essentially, I look at even the Raksha Mantra. If you can and you have brought an EAM who is a professional, an expert in his field through the via the Rajya Sabha, what stops you in getting a veteran of any of the services whom you feel he is an expert via the Rajya Sabha in as the Raksha Mantri and even as the Minister of State for Defense? You have Minister of State for Defense making statements to the press with no clue of what is he talking about. Now, if you're going to rise, you can't have this kind of faux pas going around. So I'll stop And of
Yeah,
course,
thanks a
we
lot. I think you raised very
last
important
point I'll
question.
give, sir. We are already doing our PME. We are all involved in that for the military. Army, I think some similar thing has to be done for the military, and that's why I said UPSC has to look how to shift gradually towards the expertise. Bringing in expertise, should all be expert, or should there be a mix of expert and generalists to get fresh ideas? That I leave it to the UPSC. So I'll stop here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think you raised a very important issue of the fact that India is not only modernizing, that's one part of the story, it's military, right? That's the equipment part. That's the equipment pipeline. The second part is that, you know, technology is changing at the pace of knots. Economy is, going somewhere else. Very importantly, we are changing our organizational structures. Our organizational structures, we are hoping to transit into the theater command system. The theater command system means that there has to be a direct connect between the Raksha Mantri and the CDS or the theater commander. In fact, CDS also doesn't have a thing. It'll be the theater commander who comes in. Then the role of the bureaucrat is not there, actually, really. Hari, I would like you to put a little, discuss this out and give your views on this. How should we go? I mean, should we go the American route or should we have our own? Uh, how do you handle the bureaucrat? Where does the bureaucrat come into this? Given the fact that issues like the bureaucrat today is ill-trained for this job. He might be a damn good guy, the best of the IAS character. He's got the best rank in the IIT. He's an intellectual, but he's not trained for this. It's a square peg in a round hole, and this is something which we have seen throughout our life. And you can't, move ahead like with this. Yeah. So your views, Hari.
Firstly, it is my experience in 40 odd years in the service. I find we are better. We can do bureaucracy better. In fact, we are bigger hurdles than bureaucrats. Some of our people can, spin the ball or the file even better than bureaucrats, and we have all experienced it the way notings do move around, especially in Delhi. So if somebody is worried that we will not be having experienced hand at the helm of the things, uh, I guess they should have a look at it. And I believe about 5 7 years ago there was a move to take some military officers of the rank of colonels into the MEA to handle certain desks because MEA was short of manpower. It was in my mind a very good initiative taken at that time. I feel there has to be a cross attachment of manpower, and we should be treated as part of the system and not kept as a separate entity as it is. Theatre commands, etc., are within our own structure. We have to first put the system together. If a foreign secretary can become minister of external affairs through the Rajya Sabha, sir, like you said, if DI or IG police can become a minister of state or for home affairs, again through Rajya Sabha, there are many cases of this nature. If a judge or a lawyer from the Supreme Court can come and become Minister of Law, because again that is a specialist, I don't understand why a person who's been in the defense forces can't be the Minister of Defense. This is a very simple thing which I am failing to understand. I am not saying that he has to be a general or a colonel or whomsoever. Trust the forge. That is all I am trying to say. And when I look back at it, sir, it goes back to the Nehruvian era, unfortunately. When Ayub Khan took over the reins in Pakistan, possibly it was something which sent signals that, they are from the same creed. Tomorrow, they will also do the same thing. And all this while in the last 30, 40, 50 years thereafter, we have been trying to, counterbalance our forces, which ultimately is, upsetting our own growth. Nobody is realizing that it is detrimental to the growth of the country as such. And I think in one of our discussions a couple of weeks back, we discussed about where is the MOD in the system today. Internal security is taken care by the MHA, the external security is taken care by the MEA, and the forces come under the MOD. So I don't know who's doing this, security when we are supposed to be having a primary and secondary role in both these aspects. So we need to have fusion, and I believe, like General Narayanan says, there has to be cross attachment, and I say at desk level. It need not come into a unit and do military duty. No, let the let let the integrated headquarters function as one, where a desk is manned by a bureaucrat, specialized bureaucrat, and I'm making a very specific point. If MHA, MEA can have specialized cadre, why isn't the MOD having one? Why is the MOD having a temporary cadre which comes from any ministry and sits into that particular vertical and then takes decisions? We are both experienced people at the helm of Department of Defense Production, and as also the Secretary of Defense, who were doing their first stint in this particular field as a secretary. It's not possible for him to take decisions of quality if he comes into the system at that stage. I don't understand why there can't be a separate cadre for the defense and let it be pollinated by both a balance of civilian and military officers. Today, we all know there is a huge cache of military officers at the rank of colonels who are available to man these desks. Why are we not utilizing them? The moment we do that, moment we have an organized Ministry of Defense, all the issues which General Narayanan raised will come in order. You will get a Secretary of Defense from an organization who understands what he's supposed to do. If you get somebody from the fertilizers, Ministry of Fertilizers, and make him Secretary of Defense, he'll take 1 year to understand what is he supposed to do, by which his superannuation is knocking at the door. And we have seen it, and that's why large number of cases get stuck at the apex level. As far as theaterization is concerned, sir, I feel it is more of an internal issue, and the problem is not at the bureaucracy level. It is more our own bureaucracy which is running it down. It is basically issue of who gets what and what is how many seats and how many posts, and we all know that who's putting these spokes. We all are aware of it. So I don't want to dwell into it because it's a complicated issue, and I am sure there has been some movement forward. The CDS now not only is a permanent office, but it has also been given uh, the superiority in terms of authority over the three chiefs. So there is some movement in that lines. I am sure, in my mind, I feel by the turn of at least next year, we should have at least one of the theatre commands in place. And I thought when the Prime Minister was speaking yesterday, there was a mention in passing of theatre commands and its jointness, which is the requirement of the day, and that needs. And again, I mentioned it last time, and I want to mention it again. We had an operation which was done surgically yesterday, and who came in the front for us? It was the IG Police of Jammu and Kashmir. And whom did he say? He says the brave soldiers of JK police, CRPF, and the army undertook this operation. We all know who undertook this operation. So when you have that kind of a scenario where you are belittling the people who are at the helm of things, it will not work. Fusion has to happen at all levels, sir. I feel may or may not. I'm not too much keen that they come and do higher command courses or staff courses and things like that. But they should learn on the job, and there should be integrated headquarters, and not only at the apex level. Also, I feel there should be integrated headquarters at command levels, whereas we have a fair mix of bureaucrats. Otherwise, the IFA also. There's another animal in the cage. The IFA.
No, we'll talk of we'll talk of that animal when we talk of economic integration. Don't talk of it now, otherwise we'll
No,
have
I was
nothing to
talking
talk
about.
the other.
I just wanted to talk about bureaucracy, and I want to narrate one incident. We were in COVID times, and everything was closed. We had to push stocks up to forward troops, and the issue came about, and it is about a simple thing like flour, which is a basic necessity for a soldier, atta. In Jammu and Kashmir, we were sourcing our atta from one single source, which was a flour mill in Jammu, which we had lien on. And now the IFA says, why can't you organize a second? Why don't you go for Patanjali atta at that stage? And we struggled to get this thing through, get a file through him. I am grateful to him that he understood the logic, and he said, I wish somebody had explained this much earlier. Otherwise, my staff came and told me that there should be multi-vendor cases for everything. So there are scenarios where we have to ensure that the bureaucracy is aware of the issues which the armed forces, and it is not one forward area tour as part of the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy training period, that they go and see the forward areas and they come back and they become absolutely aware of things. They need to be integrated. They need not be part of the common or regular armed forces, but they have to be part of the system. And I feel, if nothing, at least command headquarter upwards, there should be a fair mix of bureaucracy and forces manning those desks. Then only things will become unified.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Now we've come a fair way. Now we'll do two things. One, we'll talk of the fusion which is required to handle external affairs of foreign thing, because external diplomacy is something which is going to grow up as we go along. And the second thing is our our problem of uh, procurement and the kind of fusion which you need to build up your capability enhancement. Not only capability enhancement, even capability sustenance. These two things, these need hell of a lot of fusion, right? And to everyone, I must tell you, General Rajiv was, a DA abroad, and he will tell you what are the things, because with this experience in external affairs, what kind of fusion is required at that level, and what is it going to come ahead. What you did yesterday, day before, has got no value. It's gone. You want to be a big power, you need a hell of a lot of fusion outside. Similarly, you want to have a big power. You're also doing defense exports. You're buying a lot of things. You want technology and all that. And for that, General Hari Mohan has been in the thick of things, right? So we'll get your views. So I'll start with General Rajiv. Yeah, fusion required for growing our diplomacy, military diplomacy, national diplomacy, external affairs, the works. Please take on.
The first point is military diplomacy is never taught to a bureaucrat. Unfortunately, it's not part of the syllabus even in the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, and which is very, very important, especially in many countries in global south. They look towards you. Number two, when you go as a DA, what do you have? Just one clerk and a PA, and you expect him to deliver everything. You get into an agreement. How do you? How are you going to make sure that you apply that? I was lucky in the sense I had a training team which was there in their military school and institute. That is, you could say, equivalent to their last 11th, 12th used to be taught in military school. So I could select cadets for NDA from there and training institute for officers. So I had this team whom I could utilize for military diplomas, gain footprint. Now, when you go as a DA, obviously the dynamics of the region, to any country, the dynamics of the region is very important. You're not permitted between the DAs in that region to sit together and have a conclave to
Talk.
discuss issues, how to go about it. You're not permitted. You're not permitted to come to India. If I have to come and brief somebody, there's a huge bureaucratic procedure. I need to come. Why do you need to come? Why can't you do it on phone? It's and we don't have the footprints everywhere today. It's very important to look at it. That okay, if a DA has been active and you've been able to get certain footprints and influence and agreements in place, at least increase his team to assist him to execute it. That one man, poor man, with just a clerk and a PA, what are you expecting him to do? And the most important part, when you relate back to India, like in our MI directorate, you have one section, I won't name that, looking after God knows how many hundred countries. So if there is a VVIP visit coming, let us say to your country, the DA has to make that complete brief, send it to that poor Colonel Saab sitting there, who will use that brief to brief him. And he'll bring that brief. Now, it is your own brief. And he expects you to brief him again. It's a very funny situation. You sent the brief to him. He's been briefed on this only. He brings the same brief. Now he wants you to brief him on that same brief, which you made it in the first place. Otherwise, he needs to have two independent inputs, actually. A person on the ground, a person who is handling that with the region, with other people, and combine and do it. Americans have done a very nice thing. Even the Russians have been following it. I think Americans followed the Soviet model. At the level of staff college, when they are doing the staff college, you apply whether you want to become a foreign area officer. If you've done well in staff college, only then you are selected. They are put through their psychological test that yes, he can do it. Now he is selected, sent to the country, region where he is to be placed. He studies that language. He is in that country. In the related region, he'll be there. He'll either be in the State Department or the Pentagon or in that region. Now he's become an expert in that region. And he is not answerable to the State Department. He is answerable to the Department of Defense. And these days, now that they have brought in the Unified Combatant Commanders, he is responsible to them. Once the agreement is done, then they have a separate team who comes in. They are
Yeah,
now
who
not
follow it up.
they are not under the DA now. They are directly under the ambassador, and who have to execute that
Project on
whatever
ground.
agreement you have
Yeah,
assigned, whatever project you have, which is a separate team, which I felt was something good. Now you expect, and the DA has a deputy, every place the DA has a deputy DA, he has a full office of clerks and one or two people more. But the American DA was a major Saab, or only a major Saab in Tajikistan. He had a staff of 5. Me as a full colonel had a staff of 2, a clerk and a PA, full stop. Running around like a blue ass fly everywhere. We were making that airfield also. That making of the airfield was not supposed to be under my purview. But yet that was very kind of the ambassador. He said, no, I don't understand these things. You will keep going there and giving me a feedback. Where all you can run? You're running 2 training institutes. You got another thing. You got to keep studying. There is a monthly digest. You got to send analysis. Any event happening, you'll immediately get a call, not just from the MOD, you'll also get a call from MEA. What are our views? This chap told so-and-so statement in the parliament, or somebody said something else. It becomes a madhouse. So there is a need to reform. We got to look at this now that you are rising and you have more ambitions. Then on these issues, you do not have any precedent. So you need to look at how others are doing and find your path to strengthen. And you need to have more boots on the ground. Your DA crowd is very small. Whether it be Army, Navy, or the Air Force, it is very small. And
yeah, I think,
should
yeah,
be
please
taken
go ahead.
away. I feel should be taken away and handled by the CDS. Today you have a
Right.
distribution that so and so is looked after by the Army, so by the Navy, so by the Air Force. No, now that you have an IDS headquarters, you should come directly under the IDS. Because, like say,
Yeah,
I was representing, since the Navy was not there, I was representing Air Force also, Army and Air Force. So that integration. So now we got to think big and start looking at
big.
greater.
Yeah. I think that's a very major point which General Narayanan has made. It's not only a matter of staffing the DAs, sending more DAs and all. Our footprint has to enlarge. As it is, India has one of the smallest of external affairs setup.
Very small.
China has about 6 times the setup. 6 is a vague factor. It might be more. than ours, or as far as the external affairs setup is concerned, or diplomatic, community. And their military community is far more, far more. And I think we need to change. We need to expand. And there has to be a horizontal integration between the external affairs minister or the external affairs diplomacy, military diplomacy, and your internal diplomacy on many issues, which today is not there. Because it is not only a matter of you're sending people out to do things out there, there's a lot of inbound things. A lot of people who are coming into India to part of diplomacy. You getting people from there to here, either for their projects doing here or for their many other things, the training, everything. So I think this is a huge thing which we need to really think
Yes,
of. And I will leave it here. And
underline your
yeah,
point, sir. Tajikistan was supposed to be very, very important for us. What was the embassy staff? I spoke about mine. Apart from the ambassador, just three more officers.
but that's it.
One looking after
So
visa, political, and a commerce secretary. How can he handle?
yeah.
What does
So
he
that
handle? If it is
that is a
important, the boots had to be more. Even the MEA didn't have.
okay. Yeah. So that's one part. The second thing is like what I said, it's very nice for the defense ministers to say in the parliament, or defense exports have increased and all that. And, but are you really optimized in that? Do you think a civilian will can go and sell defense equipment the way a army guy does? Is there a case for us to enlarge that scope? Is there a case for us to start a new uh, you know, I would say, I mean, a lot of fusion is required there, plus normal technology development and this. So I want your views, Hari, on this business of procurement and all this.
So, firstly, I have a little thing to say with, in addition to what General Rajiv just mentioned.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. You're not,
You
you're
know,
not, but
I,
this is
I'm a
not
little
compartmentalized. Just speak.
I'm a little amused by the manner in which we select DAs in the first place. What training do we give to those people? I don't know. Because a person goes for an interview, five people are picked up based on their professional performance. They're called. A set of people may or may not have gone as a DA themselves. Is sitting on the panel selecting. I don't know what he sees. He looks at the bearing of the person. Most of the time, he throws a couple of questions at him, sees the way he answers, and he gets selected. Most of these foreign exposure interviews lasts, if I was to put up a not more than 5 to 10 minutes per candidate. Is that adequate to identify the suitable guy to go and do military diplomacy? I have my doubts. That is why I said we need to firstly empower our people. The same General Rajiv, if he had been part of the MEA desk for Tajikistan before he went there and had sat through the desk, seen the kind of correspondence that is coming through the desk in the MEA, maybe for a year or so, and then proceeded as the DA, his performance in that desk would be much different than what he managed to do there. If he is going to learn on the job and the DA's tenure generally happens to be 2 years, in that 2 years, if 6 months is spent into learning the job, 4 months is taken to familiarizing himself with the country that he landed up in, it is not going to be productive. And especially the aspect which you have asked me, sir, sorry, it will not work at all. If you want the DA to be productive, then you have to empower the DA. You have to put him through a very, very stringent set of training in terms of diplomacy. He has to be very clearly articulated as to what is he expected to do over there. Like there are countries where we are looking at people being influencing the society over there on the Indianness or the India's growth. There are another set of countries where we are trying to show the India's capabilities and powers. There are third set of countries where we want to sell our equipment and exports. So they are all different cups of tea. You can't put them all in the same bean count and say, okay, anybody and everybody can do it. It is a specialist job and the guy needs to be fully empowered. It is not just the DSR, even the people who go and get into peacekeeping jobs. In that 1 year, he has to learn the job, he has to act over there and ensure that the flag that he's wearing on his uniform, he meets the requirements of an Indian. And most of us who have been on those kind of missions, we have slogged that extra bit to try and make sure that we don't cut a sorry figure over there. So that is one thing I wanted to put across, that it is and it is nothing to do with the government, sir. It is our own folly. We have to find the ways and means to find appropriate people, and one way to do it is put them through the desk. MEA, as it is short staff, they need people on the desks. Why can't we, supplement them rather than putting people in, some appointments that people go into? That can be, I think, worked out, and it is something which the armed forces themselves are allowed to look at it. That's the first part, sir. As far as being a net exporter, uh, it is just the start, and I don't think we have reached anywhere close to what our potentials are. We are still, at the moment trying to show ourselves as a major hub for defense production. As of now, if I look at it, we are just trying to make sure that our shortfalls in meeting our requirements are being made up by the defense industry and the DPSUs per se. I don't think most of our DAs have got any exposure in terms of what our DPSUs and defense industries are capable of. They land up over there and then they start asking various desks as to what is these questions are being asked to us. I will narrate an incident, sir, when I was leading a delegation of high command students to one of the countries. I'll not name the country. That country was interested in getting a small arms weapon from us, and the DA was not is not from the army. He had very limited knowledge of what capabilities we have. So the moment the Indian Army High Command team landed up, he thought possibly, we would be the people who will supplement that shortfall of knowledge. And to my horror, being the leader of the delegation, I was put through this question when I was meeting their, chief of their armed forces. And I had to struggle to find, what kind of an answer am I supposed to give him at that stage, because I was never prepared for that kind of a question. So we are ourselves to be blamed to an extent. Most of us are learning our procurement processes on the job, sir. There is no structurized training, though it is something we are trying to put it correct in the system now. Especially some courses we are now trying to include issues of procurement and manufacturing, and especially even staff college and to some extent higher command courses are taking up that so that people are empowered. But notwithstanding, most of our DAs, when they are in these kind of, or rather, I say people in these kind of desks, they are not fully empowered to give the right kind of advice. There needs to be
So,
structurized training.
look, Hari, before we get stuck with the DAs, I mean, I don't blame the DA. That's not the point. But we have to look beyond the DAs.
I
What
agree,
I'm
sir.
trying to
Totally,
say is,
totally
we
agree.
have to look beyond the DAs, right? The
Absolutely.
DAs have a cutout role. But you want to be a net exporter, you want to be this thing. My view is, I mean, I would like your views on this. My view is our entire procurement setup. If you want civil, political, military fusion in the procurement and export, ecosphere, it's not only a matter of the armed forces people who have not been trained in this. Equally, the civilians are not trained. Even the political people are not trained, nor are the bureaucrats. What do you do about that? That's the point I want you to bring out.
Totally agree, sir. And in fact, even I'd say staffing in these embassies. When you look at, let's say, an embassy in Russia, the kind of staffing with a defense advisor in a Russian embassy has,
Mhm.
and compare it, let's say, Tajikistan, where General Narayanan was there. So there is a difference in staffing. Russia is not going to buy arms from you. There was possibly these staffings were norms that time when we were looking at purchasing arms from these countries. So when you look at Russia or UK or France or USA, the defense wing is staffed much better than those countries where you're going to sell. Today, let's say you're looking at Armenia, which is one of our largest purchaser of weapons. I don't know. I don't think there is a proper DA, full time DA. There are many nations where there are DAs covering more than one nation, especially those Soviet republics which balkanized. There is a DA who's covering more than one country. If that is the kind of situation, how does he ensure that the right message goes out with no staffing, no training, and a very large gambit of things to do? These are issues which needs to be looked at differently, because now we are not the Indian armed forces of 1960s. We are the armed forces of the 2025. We are a new nation. We are a powerful nation, and we need to take different views in the manner at which put your staffing norms, etc.
Yeah.
I just add in this
Dushant has
one point.
come and said, yeah, Dushant has said it is placed in DA now. I believe a
So
DA has
I
been
just
placed as civilian.
make one
Yeah.
point
Go
here,
ahead.
sir. The problem with this defense export business, while he may say that we have increased so much, there's too much of government control on private players, because there is something known as a negative list maintained by the MOD. You just can't export on your own. So, what has happened because of that is most of your DPSUs don't have that extra capacity to not only export, to sustain also what is being sent out. No wonder Kalyani is giving his ATAGs to Armenia. He's been cleared by the government. So he is at least looking that okay, he's going to support it. Otherwise, your DPSUs just don't have that kind of capacity. You got to expand your industrial complex and reduce the government control and permit them to export and set up their sustenance supply chains, whether here or there, in whichever manner. If I am a country, I'm buying something, it's not just buying it, I have to sustain that. How good are you to sustain that? That is the whole issue. So unless we relook that negative list process, we may still face a problem in expanding further as a exporter.
Yeah. So there are a whole lot of things. And mind you, all of those who are listening, we just skimmed the surface. We only skimmed issues pertaining to procurement, certain things procurement, pertaining to planning, certain issues pertaining to, operations, certain issues pertaining to day-to-day affairs, and certain issues pertaining to external affairs and military diplomacy. We have not even touched what happens if you want to develop infrastructure. We have not even touched what happens if you have to, do day-to-day, what shall I say, counterinsurgency operations. Because when you do counterinsurgency operations and all, you're dealing less with the center, you're dealing more with the states. Okay. You're not doing so many other things which you have to do with this, right? At the state level. Or for that matter, aid to civil authority. There are riots in Delhi tomorrow. I just said, right? How do you handle it? You still have to go back to there's one little pamphlet in the army called Aid to Civil Authority, which was written in the year of the Lord when the very Goras were there, and it is just made into some small amendment. You still go by that. You know, and today those things have changed completely. Then what happens if you mobilize? There's mobilization if it happens tomorrow. You're mobilizing formation from the east to go to the west or south to go to the north or whatever. You need people. You need, look, that's something which has worked. Thank God. Thank all the gods whom we believe in. That mobilization has worked in India very well with the railways. But can it do better? Right? That's the point. You are doing Sagar Mala, this Mala, all those Malas. Is there a defense component in it? Is there a security component in it? Is there a case for all these people to come on board? So I think there is a whole lot of things and to be done. What if there's an out of area contingency, like what happened in Maldives when
Sri
we
Lanka.
had to rush Sri Lanka for that matter? Do we have our policies ready? We have our kind of energy, I mean, a synergy in place? I'm afraid not. Let me be very honest. And I'm sure both of them who are either side of me will also agree to that there's no system. We both of them are laughing. From that itself, you can make, or that we are completely. completely not ready. We might be ready, we might have a great armed forces, we are all fine. But today, when we are becoming a big power, you need to be able to perform in uncertain situations of ambiguity and expanding ambiguity, international ambiguity. And that is something, are we prepared? Is the $1 million question. Okay. Now, I will take some questions. I think we had a great discussion. Yeah, first is the army is alive to these challenges in a focused manner within their reach. However, it needs an integrated approach, and that's what we are talking of today. I'm glad General Dushant has
And
brought this up.
especially bringing in the state governments into the chain,
State
because you are
governments,
deployed in various states where you deal day to day, almost daily with the state. And
yeah,
at the
So
moment, like what I have seen through my career is it varies from individual to individual. You reach out, you speak to them, you do it. There is no formalized thing that they have. I'll
plus
give
the
you one
concurrent list,
anecdotal incident. So we
concurrent
need,
list needs to be relooked. The
like I
concurrent
said,
list needs to be relooked.
huh, the issue is like what you mentioned, mobilization.
yeah,
I I deal with tracks. I have to make sure my path is available to get to the station to mobilize. And that there is no development which has suddenly come up in the station which blocks my route to the path to
yeah,
the loading ramp. And it was a big issue in Punjab for me. Developments going on, had to go every 3 months, 4 months, speak to the, and it is not just in the loading ramp at the station. It is also the stations you pass through and the stations you're going to unload. Every development is taking place everywhere. And that man is not even interested in defense matters. And that is where this integrated approach with state is very, very, very,
yeah,
very important.
yeah,
How do you
So
unload? Suddenly you find you can't even, that chap can't even bring you to a unloading ramp. He says, "नहीं sir, वो तो ramp हमने हटा दिया because of modernization."
so I have
That's
a
what
very
I'm
interesting, I have a very interesting anecdote here. You know, we were mobilizing for Op Vijay, and we mobilized from Sikandrabad, and we had medium guns, 130 millimeter, huge, huge gun. So in Sikandrabad, we loaded and we checked with the railway authorities. They showed us the route. We mapped it. Somewhere down the line, for whatever reasons, because after all, we are a good strain. The military specials are good strains. So somewhere they rerouted us at night, and to our horror, we landed up at our destination with the guns pointing the other way to the vehicle, and we had to
no place
unload.
to
And you
turn
can
around
imagine
also.
we can't turn around inside the gun inside, and we were mobilizing for war. And this is a live incident, sir. We had to take the whole train back to Jodhpur, unhook each and every carriage, put it on the turntable and turn it, rehook it back onto as a train and bring it back. So and and my CEO was mad at me. He says, "Why did you not check?" I said, "Sir, I have checked everything. The train, the route which they were, and somewhere they turned it, so the engine went to the other side because they changed the route. So when we landed up Ulta. And the ramp was on the side from where we couldn't unload. And you cannot unload a heavy equipment without the tower with it. So there are problems. And somebody, like we say, we have to have organizations and possibly also rehearsals, something we don't do it very often.
yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. I think we had this thing because we could talk the whole night and we'll still not get, we'll not forget solutions. We will not even get to the, we'll not even skim the surface of the problems. Okay. With this, let me take a few, right? Politicians, bureaucrats lack professional knowledge, but they believe that they are the repository of it, sitting in AC rooms and talking about it doesn't look nice. Yeah, I think so. I'll not, I mean, I don't think they're that bad. They're good people at their heart. What they lack is knowledge. And that's the whole story. I do hope some politician sees this. And if my request to all of you is, if you know any politicians, send this video to him to have a look at it. Okay. And that's the thing. I can only request the government to change its perspective on the topic discussed today. Nazariya badlo, nazare badlenge. I
I
completely
will
agree
only
with you.
add, you
Yeah,
need a
your views, both your views.
it's not just nazariya perception. You need a cultural shift in thinking. For 70 years, we have over 70 years, this thinking has not come. Just change in a little perspective doesn't come so easily. It's a cultural shift that has to come in the way you're functioning.
I'll
Yeah,
again
your
say
view.
we have to get out of that, Charlie or the coup mentality. The Indian
Yes.
armed forces are not, and I'm very sure none of us have. We have all served through our lives. I don't think the Indian armed forces are any way interested in. And India is not a country that can be controlled by the armed forces anyway. It needs a huge number of armed forces. We don't have that. So I don't know why this worry about army taking over continues. We should be getting out of that.
Yeah, in fact, I'll put it the other way. All of us as armed forces officers are very proud of the fact that India has a solid democracy. We are
Solid.
civilian led. We take pride in it. We take pride in the fact, this very fact. And here are a set of babus and some unsure politicians who feel insecure amongst all of us. And there might be the odd army officer who might have such ideas, a maverick. But the fact is, he's surrounded by 99% of others who are not going to allow him to do anything, right?
And that
So
maverick
it's
doesn't last long, sir.
long, and the
The
maverick
thing
doesn't
is,
last long. That's the next
doesn't
thing.
last
Sooner
long.
or later he
Correct.
gets back to track. So I think it's time for the government to change. I don't know. Like I said, all of you help me, instead of giving it to your friend, send it to your local politician. Okay, and thanks a lot, Yashwant, for your contribution. And in fact, same thing for Saurabh for all your contributions. A lot of questions today. I don't know what to touch and what not to touch, but I'll take one or two interesting questions. Right? If it, I did say them, and they were very interesting. Uh, Let me, yeah, a lot of questions.
I guess some of them we can answer through the chat also, sir.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, yeah, this is something interesting. Yeah. Do we need a separate Indian Defense Services for administrative positions in Defense Ministry?
We
I
already
always
have armed forces headquarters services already there. We're
it
not
should be.
utilizing them.
I feel it should be part of the IAS cadre and not.
Yeah.
Uh, it has to be the main cadre, sir. Like the MEA is there, we should also have an IDS. That's what I
And
feel.
Yeah.
like what you said, cross pollination, get the people, retired people going into that place.
No, like IPS, why can't there be an IDS? I feel this high
Yes.
time we start this.
Yeah. Will it help if young Indian bureaucrats are sponsored for US, France, Germany scholarships to get a fresh perspective similar to Japanese Meiji reforms?
चाहिए नहीं. As it is already, they go for higher studies and all. They already have it. Study leave. They go abroad and they
Hmm.
study in various places and come. That has not achieved anything much. So I
Yeah.
don't think that is going to provide it. Meiji was a totally different set of reforms. He was looking at industrialization and westernization concepts and other things. That has got nothing to do with our reforms. These are not Meiji reforms.
So I have
Okay.
only a difference in views. We have to get out of this socialist. We are, I guess, still
Yes.
too socialist in our outlook. If we want to be a world power, we have to get out of that aspect, and possibly in that count, we have to get people to learn more kind of ways of life. And I guess
Yeah.
some degree of movement is required.
See, I
Okay.
look at it that you got to shift from socialism to a capitalistic
Yeah,
welfare society.
I will say socialist
Welfare will
capital.
always be there. Something like Sweden, capitalistic
Yeah.
with welfare.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, socialism will get us nowhere today.
Okay. This is a very interesting question, and all three of us have had experience with Mr. Manohar Parikar. So I want you to weigh this in the context of our political situation. And what do you, I mean, your views, whatever you want to say. Was Manohar Parrikar in a different league? Let's start with Hari today first.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. He was a different league. He was quick on the uptake. Whenever one went and briefed him, in whatever way it was, he was able to grasp much faster. He was able to give decisions much clearer and quicker, and he was able to understand the perspective. Large number of cases, especially the procurement cases that have happened today, have fructified primarily because the defense minister of that time was up and about. He was serious in his business, and he was able to control the bureaucracy to a large extent. And I have seen him overruling the bureaucracy in many a times on minor little issues, which ensure that things work differently. Whether he is the right kind of person to have overall decision making, I don't know. But as far as the procurement and those kind of things, he was in a different league altogether.
Yeah, Rajiv.
Yes, very, very, very high IQ, very quick on the uptake, and the most important part, he could identify the person whom he needed to reach out to if he wanted any answers. And he made full use of that. And yes, he used to keep the bureaucracy on their toes. If they didn't understand, in the procurement file itself, he used to question them. If he didn't know, he used to send them back and say, through the night, padke kalana. So that was the kind of person he was. But that was essentially on procurement issues. Did he grasp the larger perspective of the armed forces and how it is to be used, applied, how to integrate? It didn't come out much at that time, so I can't say much about it. But he
Okay.
used to study a lot.
Hmm. Okay, let me put it because I had a very, very close interaction with him for 2 years when I was a Director General Artillery. And probably what you see in artillery today in terms of missiles and guns and
Oh,
ammunition and all that, he made up. He made good. He had that perception to understand why he needs a good army officer to take this whole thing through. And he ensured politico military and bureaucratic fusion. Why I took this thing is when he was around, the bureaucrats helped me procure. The moment he went away, the bureaucrats didn't help me to procure. That was the difference. Okay. He had this grasp of how to get things moving in the procurement channel. Now, I also saw a few glimpses of his in this business of handling operational situations. Because in his time, the only operational situation which came about, apart from the normal, counterinsurgency operations which used to go on at that point of time, were largely the 2 or 3 incursions which happened, from China, and
Surgical.
that surgical strikes which happened, and those things. I thought he handled them very confidently. I mean, one didn't have a one-to-one meeting with him, honestly, but the way one could get the feel, because when you are there, you get to know talking what. He gave a lot of leeway to all the officers who were carrying out operational duties. And he took a lot of effort to go to operational areas and understand what the operational problems were. Many times he's asked me, look, you're telling me this. I'll get back to you and let you know after 4, 5 days or a week or 10 days. So after a week, he used to say, okay, this proposal which you gave me, go ahead on that. And then one day I asked him, why do you do this? He says, no, I go down to people. When I go and meet people on ground, I take their view and then come yes and no. So I thought he had this operational grasp also. Right. I thought we had a terrific discussion today. I'm not going to take more questions because there are so many questions and so many views, we can't really answer them. Okay. I'd like to thank Murali Krishna Natarajan for becoming a YouTube member and all that. And I do thank all of you who have joined me today. Tomorrow we're going to talk of Pralay. We've just test fired the Pralay missile when all this was going on in the parliament. We carried out two test firings of Pralay missile simultaneously, one at the minimum range and one at the maximum range, and both were successful. And I think we should understand what has happened. So we'll talk of that tomorrow. Do join me back tomorrow. Till then, thanks a lot, both of you. Before you go, I want 1 minute from Hari, your final thinking, and then Rajiv, and then we'll say Jai Hind. Hari.
So, political bureaucratic military fusion is essential if you want to be a Vishwaguru. If you want to be counted in the world order, you have to project a unified national power. And that will only happen if all of us look in the same direction. And I hope things are moving in the right direction with the theater commands coming up, and with the bureaucracy now becoming a little more empowered. I am only requesting the organizations to ensure that this it came up somewhere in our discussion. We are still an attached headquarter of the Ministry of Defense. I hoped in due course of time, from being outsiders in the Ministry of Defense, the people in uniform are taken as part of the Ministry of Defense, because that is something which has bugged me in my entire career as to why, despite wearing the uniform of the nation, wearing the Ashoka on my shoulders, I am still have to be an attached member of this of the Ministry of Defense, which actually does not sound logical, and I hope that comes out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Rajiv, your views.
Yes, I link what he add to add what General Hari had mentioned. If you're looking at Viksit Bharat 2047, if you're not going to integrate your military in your decision making, I don't think you'll be achieving much. This is an essential part, like we had mentioned in our discussion, that the cultural shift is needed and it takes time. Start now, by then the cultural shift would have been taken. Because right at the beginning, we had mentioned that since you're rising, the challenges are going to be plenty. And you need expertise in decision making to counter these. Generalists will not be able to help you in this regard. So it is a need, and the urgency is being felt now, and hence we are talking about it. So I leave it at
Yeah.
this.
So, right. A last comment which I'd like to put, watching and learning from Brisbane. Thanks a lot for watching from Brisbane, or all of you, wherever you are. Please tell Major General Rajiv that Sainik School boys love him. So, yeah, so that's very nice. And these Goras love listening to General Shankar whenever we are traveling. Oh, thanks a lot. So we are doing our influencing of people. I do hope people at home also listen to us. And to that, please help us sending this to everyone else. With this, thank you, gentlemen, and thanks a lot for all of you who have joined in. Till tomorrow, have a great day and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.